All right, World Wide Web, another amazing edition of Sports and Tacos coming at you. All right, World Wide Web, another mind-blowing edition of Sports and Tacos coming at you like every Monday night. I'm your host Spencer Cadigan. We got most of the OGs on tonight. Alex Ginzel couldn't make it tonight, but we got Tony Pentojas live from Denver, Colorado. We got Robert Humphreys live from Denver, Colorado. We got Miss Linda S. Wong live from North Hollywood, California, playing the referee tonight. She's an amazing actress. We're both actors. She's been in my movie, one of my shows, and she's also my super amazing roommate. So, and the star of the show,
the roommate.
Yeah, he's like right there.
That's what I'm saying.
So if you hear the whistling on both ends, you'll know why.
Yeah, she's in the room on the other side of the wall right now. So, anyways, and we have really happy to have Mr. Isaac Ruiz on the show with us this evening. Isaac, thank you so much for coming on, Isaac.
It's a pleasure.
And if I miss anything here, Isaac, just let me know. You are ex United States Marine, correct?
Yes.
You are.
Simplify.
And also, you were an actor for for quite a while, right?
Yes, I was from in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. Yes.
That's
but
amazing.
First of all, if I may, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, sure. Do it.
I want to thank Bama, Tony, Linda, and you, Spencer, for getting my picture out of all the post offices so I could be here tonight.
We do whatever we can on Sports and Tacos.
we know we're there, Mr. Isaac. We know we're more now.
Whatever it takes for the guests to feel comfortable and safe, right?
Exactly. We do whatever it takes to get guests on Sports and Tacos, Isaac.
You're
so
awesome.
I don't have a whole lot of stuff. I didn't have a whole lot of time, but here's an old school picture of Isaac with Red Fox back in the day.
My old buddy Red.
Chico and the Man.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, Isaac.
Yes.
Anytime we have guests on the show, we want to get their backstory, find out, kind of like what made them who they are. And like I said, Greg Vaughn's going to be hopping on here in just a minute. I know he's got a busy day. But so start off where you're from. I usually like to know where you're from. And then tell us about how sports influenced your life, your work ethic. I'm assuming you're still a big baseball fan. I'm assuming you're probably a lifelong fan of the great sport of baseball. So, yeah, Isaac, where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles, California. I was born in a little city called Lincoln Heights. And you're a stone's throw from Dodger Stadium, which is the Chavez Ravine, the old Chavez Ravine area where they built the stadium. It used to be not far from where I was born. And one of the things that happened with Mike that has to do with baseball is in the 1940s, probably 1949, 1950, I started, even as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid, following the Brooklyn Dodgers with, of course, my favorite ball player being Jackie Robinson, and I just went crazy for the Brooklyn Dodgers. I don't know why I started following them. And when they moved to Los Angeles in 1958, I got so excited. I was in junior high school that I went into the boys' bathroom in the 7th grade, and when nobody was around, and I had a good cry. Of course, you didn't want the fellas to see you crying, and that's a no-no, especially where I come from. And so I went in. I was so happy that they were coming, but where I went to school, there were a lot of gangs. There were a lot of easy time and to get in trouble. And what kept me out of trouble was I happened to be pretty fast, pretty quick, and I used to run. I was a good runner, and when the guys would chase me because they wanted me to join the gang, and I didn't want to join any gangs, but I ran around with these guys. They treated me okay, but they wanted me to join the gang, and they used to give you what they call kangaroo court. Kangaroo court is for 30 seconds they would beat you up. They couldn't kick you. They would just kind of work you over, and you had to block your privates and your head to get really busted up. And then it wouldn't last that long, but I used to run and make them chase me, and I would slide to the right, to the left, and they would sometimes fall. And one day I ran into the biggest kid in school, and he told me, "You're pretty fast for a little Mexican boy." He said, why don't you go out for track? Then you don't have these boys chasing you. You can earn some awards and medals. And so I started going out for track and football and baseball, and before you know it, I became an athlete, and that's how I got into sports.
That's awesome. What sports did you play in school?
I played baseball. I actually only played my senior year. I played 1 year of baseball. Mm-hmm. I played 4 years of football. I ran track for 4 years. Wow. And then I sent you a paper that shows from the United States Marine Corps. I made the varsity team in Atsugi, Japan. We were the Atsugi Navy Marine Flyers. But the problem with that is I'm Rudy before Rudy. When I saw the movie Rudy, I couldn't believe it. I saw that movie, man, and I cried like a baby. Number 45, that was me. Everything that happened to Rudy, Coach, he can wear my jersey. Coach, he can wear my jersey. That happened to me, and they made me a defensive end. In high school, I was a quarterback, first-string quarterback, but I was a little guy. We would fill the stands because people came to see this little Mexican quarterback jumping up and down to see where his ends were.
Sounds like if Tony was trying to play quarterback.
Yeah. Man, I couldn't even see over the butt.
What, hey, Isaac, if you don't mind me asking, for being a quarterback, how tall are you? What was your height and weight?
I was 5'5", weighed 115 pounds. Wow.
Make it happen.
Can I tell you a quick story about when I was in the Marines and they had me at defensive end? The only thing I was used for, they didn't have a jersey for me. I had to go out when they played the game in my practice jersey. I was just like Rudy. I'm not kidding. Now, Rudy didn't get to go on the field. I got to go on the field, stand on the sidelines in my practice jersey. And so finally, when we were winning a game 19-0. And so the coach, it was a fourth quarter, 4 minutes left to go in the game. And all the guys, come on, coach, put Isaac in. Put him in, coach. He'll get the job done. And so the coach says, he calls me up there. And I go up there like Rudy did, man. I'm shaking, you know. And he said, you get in there. He says, we have confidence in you. Get in there and do what you're supposed to do. And he hits me on the shoulders, and I run into the game, man, and I can't wait. So when the other team comes out and they see me, they call timeout, and they call timeout to change the play to come around my side. And the coach calls me, says, Isaac, I gotta take you out. They're coming after you. And one of the guys on our team, Jimmy Hicks, our star fullback, said, come on, coach, let him, he'll get the job done. So he sends me back in. He says, Isaac, he says, they're coming at you. You gonna handle it? And I said, I'm ready, coach. So I went back in, and I'm defensive. Now in defense, this is 1963.
Wow.
So when they lined up, you could use your hands in those days. And so when they lined up, all I did, I was watching that center. I shoved that guy to the ground, and they sent two backs to take me out, but they dove to take my feet out, and I dove over them, and I caught the quarterback for a 7-yard loss on the
Yes.
first play of the game.
Boy.
My teammates went wild.
You're like a 5'5" version of Lawrence Taylor, Isaac.
Hey,
Nobody knew.
I'm not going to tell you, but all the times they knocked me down and went around me. But
Don't talk about the good one right there. That's a heck of a play there, Isaac. Hell yeah.
my moment in glory, but the great part about somebody was taking pictures, and I got pictures of it. You know.
That's
Nice.
cool, though.
Anyway, that's my fame, my glory hound moment that I had in football for the United States Marine Corps.
Wow.
That's
okay.
badass.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, okay, yeah, then I'm assuming after high school, a little war started. And did you get drafted or did you join?
No, I was 17 years old when I joined the Marines. My mother wouldn't sign for me to go into paratroopers with one of my friends, but she signed for me to go in the Marines. And I had to tell my mom in a civil way, thanks a lot, Mom. You know.
Yeah.
Hey, Marines are badass though, man. You made a good choice going to the Marines.
You didn't do me any favors, you know.
So I don't know how much you want to. I don't know how much you want to chat about that because that was Vietnam, right?
Well, I'm a Vietnam veteran. We were aboard. We had 3 ships that took off. I was pretty blessed because I was before the Tet Offensive and all those big battles Marines were in. I was before that. I was over there in 62, 63.
Wow. Okay. Hey, Isaac.
Yes.
Isaac, real quick. We got ex baseball star Mr. Greg Vaughn just logged in. If you remember Greg Vaughn,
Absolutely. What a pleasure to meet you. And not to slight anybody, not to slight Linda, not to slight Bam, not to slight Tony.
Yo, baby, yo.
Greg, it's great to say hello to you, man.
No, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for our country too. I appreciate you. Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you. I have a if I can interject a little story.
Yeah.
do it.
It's
Hey, just real actually, let me introduce you to Greg real quick. So Greg,
Okay.
Isaac, he's an ex Marine. He was an actor. How long were you an actor from?
from 1967 1967 to 1981, 82.
81. He was on all kinds of shows, especially back in the 70s.
Yeah.
He was one of the stars of Chico and the Man. I don't know if you ever remember the show Chico and the Man,
Yes, I do.
Greg.
Yes.
So Isaac played Mondo on Chico and the Man, and he came. I met him just recently through my buddy Brady Mazzola. Like I mentioned to you, we are beginning the process. We're going to do a documentary about Bob Whelan, and Isaac is one of Bob Whelan's best friends. And when we were in the production meeting, I got to talking to him. He's also a huge sports fan. And, he told me just a few of his like old school stories. I was like, man, you got to come on Sports and Tacos. So anyways, just so you know who Isaac is, Greg. Anyways, Isaac, go ahead. What were you going to say?
There's Greg and all of you, Bam, Tony, Linda, and of course you, Spencer. When I was on doing Chico and the Man, there was a guy that used to shine shoes at NBC since either 49, 50, or 51. He told me 49. They mentioned him since 51, but he was at NBC already when I got there for 25 years and had a wall of fame from every big movie star that you can think of. And so when I was walking by in the hallway one day, his name was Floyd Jackson. And he said, and you can even look him up on Google, but Floyd says, now my name is Isaac, but he called me by my stage name, which is Mondo. I was Freddie Prinze's Chico's best friend, Mondo. And so he said, Mondo, you don't be so tight, Mondo. I got pictures from everybody at NBC, man. Freddie or Chico gave me a picture. Red Fox gave me a picture. He said, Jack Albertson gave me a picture. You're the only one. You're the only one that didn't give me a picture. I said, Floyd, you have never asked me. Well, I'm asking you now. I tell you what, Floyd, I'm going to go right now and get a picture, and you can be looking for a spot to put it up. I'll be right back. I came back with the picture, and he gets his little step ladder, and he goes to look for a spot, and he finds a spot to put my picture. And I said, hey, Floyd. And he looks at me and I said, what's the biggest tip you ever got? And he goes, that's easy, brother. Old Blue Eyes gave me a $50 bill. And I said, a $50 bill? Man, that's a lot of money. He said, he gave me that a few years ago. Since then, I even got $100. And I said, wow. And then all of a sudden, he's looking for a spot, and here comes Jackie Gleason, walking right by the shoe shine stand. And I said, Mr. Gleason. And he stops. And I said, how about a shoe shine? He goes, why not? So he climbs up, and Floyd gets down the ladder, and he can't believe it. And he starts shining. Jackie Gleason shoes. And Jackie Gleason was with two business guys. They were all in their suits. So he finishes shining his shoes, and Jackie Gleason looks at Floyd and he says, what's your name? Floyd Jackson, sir. Floyd Jackson. I've been shining shoes since 1949. He said, what's the biggest tip you ever got? And Floyd looks at me and he goes, $300. Jackie Gleason takes a roll of $100 bills out of his pocket and cranks off 5 of them.
Wow.
And he said, now what's the biggest tip you ever got? And he was
That's a good story.
that's my famous Floyd Jackson story.
That's
That's
right there, Isaac. Yes.
That's amazing. So Isaac, I know you've already told me a few great stories. Do you want to? I don't know. You want to talk about the Marine Corps much? So he was a baseball player in high school. Greg, baseball was his favorite sport. I was just kind of going into how sports, kind of affected his work ethic and in life in general, and kind of maybe
Right.
makeup of who he is. I don't know. Do you want to dive into that, or would you rather? Yeah. What was the Marines like?
in the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say this, and I'm not trying to. If there's any others that are watching, I just want to encourage your audience, your viewing audience. You don't have to do drugs. You don't have to be an alcoholic. You don't have to take those routes to find your way. And I was one of these guys. I came right out of the barrio, and I was raised in South Central Los Angeles, and black and brown communities. And I was raised in East Los Angeles, and I had in both worlds. In fact, I have a saying for those of us who have had to fight for it: life has a flavor the protected will never know. And when I grew up, I wanted to make my mother proud. That was my biggest thing. I come from a family of 9 kids. I can give you all the sob stories that everybody has about growing up poor. I never went on vacations, grew up without my dad, my mother raising 9 of us by herself. I lived in 18 homes in my 12 years of school. 18 different places, okay? So, but when I was in the Marines, I stayed in shape. I was an athlete. My goal at 5'5", 115 pounds, I had my sights on being a professional athlete. You know that I boxed 15 years as a professional. I told you about that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Professional boxer. I worked at a grocery store and I boxed apples, oranges, bananas, grapes. I got you, Linda. I got you. Anyway, but I wanted to be a pro. I want to clear one thing up before I say it. I don't say this to brag. Be humble before you stumble. But in 1964, in the Marines, I broke the Marine Corps record for the Marine Corps all over the world. I was #1 in what they call PRT, Physical Readiness Test. I broke the Marine Corps record. Nobody ever broke my record for 20 years before they retired it. It was a lieutenant named John Daly that I broke his record. He ended up becoming a 3-star general,
Jesus.
But I kept it. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't an alcoholic. When all the other guys were out doing what they did, I was doing push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, staying in shape, But this is what kept me sane, what kept me on top of my game in the Marines. And I'm not it wasn't just all peaches and cream. I grew up during the Civil Rights Movement in '61 in the Marines, and there was a lot of racism that I had to. I take PTSD classes to this day. I had one. I have another one coming up tomorrow.
Wow.
Been taking them for 13 years. I don't have to take them anymore, but I go to encourage other guys that were drug addicts, that were alcoholics, that need a word of encouragement, And
Yeah.
I go to these classes, and these guys, they look up to me. They know about. I never told anybody that I was on Chico and the Man or that I was anything. There's a saying, There are no big potatoes or little potatoes in God's eyes. We're all mashed potatoes. You know,
I like that.
nobody's better than anybody. And I never
Right.
thought, because I worked with, I knew Burt Reynolds was a friend. Okay. Red Fox was a friend. I worked with Elizabeth Taylor, Lucille Ball. I worked with a lot of Bing. I met Bing. You want to hear a Bing Crosby story?
Sure.
Sure.
At NBC, Bing Crosby in 1974 or 75, he was going to be on the Johnny Carson show. And I went up to him. Now, at that time, Chico and the Man had just come out and was the number one country in the nation. And so I saw Bing Crosby, and I went over and I said, "Mr. Crosby, forgive me for bothering you, sir, but I have to say hello. You're one of the biggest names in Hollywood, in the world, in all that you've accomplished, 2 Academy Awards. I have to say hello." And he's holding his pipe in his mouth, and he takes it out and he says, "My man Mondo, I watch you every Friday night." This little beaner was. We knew this. Unbelievable. We knew. That's one of my proudest moments. Hold on. A Freudian slip. Anyway, he knew. That was a proud moment for me. He knew who I was. And this was Crosby.
That's awesome. Really, so we take a break about halfway through. Isaac, I'm trying to think here. Tell them the story about how you got essentially discovered in Hollywood when you were walking in to the stage with all your buddies. And I love this just because I'm an actor, and I've heard lots of these kind of stories where, you know, how people get discovered. There really is no rules in Hollywood. I have heard a story about Matthew McConaughey. Like when they were filming Dazed and Confused, he wasn't an actor. They were filming down in Texas, and the cast and crew were all hanging out at a bar one night after filming, and there just happened to be this guy at the bar that they just kind of blew their mind, and they literally just had him come out. I don't know the exact story. Had him come out to set the next day, gave him a shot, and maybe they were going to make him an extra or give him some lines or something. And next thing you know, the guy becomes Matthew McConaughey. You know, I had heard a story about Steve Guttenberg, if you remember.
Well, of course I know.
Okay, so I had heard that the way Steve Guttenberg got discovered was he literally snuck on to the Paramount lot and was like pretending. He was like pretending that his agent had sent him to Paramount for some gig or something, and that, you know, it was some crisis. He absolutely had to be at, you know, Studio 32 or something. And so security let him in, and it was all made up. Security let him in, and this is the story. He got into the executive building, found an empty office in the executive building, and pretended like he worked there. And the story is he showed up at the executive building on Paramount for like 6 months, pretending to work there before anybody discovered that he wasn't actually an employee of Paramount. And somehow in that time he got discovered and became Steve Guttenberg, and the rest is history. So anyway, tell him about how you kind of got into acting, Isaac.
I was having my car fixed. I had a V6 Chevy, and I was having it fixed in East LA. And this guy that was there having his car fixed was painting a portrait of Lorne Greene from Bonanza. And I went up to him. I said, "That's Lorne Greene. He's the star of Bonanza." I said, "Do you know him?" He says, and he told me he couldn't speak English. I work as an extra, he told me. And he says, I come out in High Chaparral and Bonanza. I said, you're kidding. You know Michael Landon? He says, well, I don't really know him, but I come out as an extra and I see him. I said, will you take me with you to the studio? And he looks at me, he goes, I don't even know who you are. I go, I'm Isaac. I'm Isaac, you know. And he said, well, he says, he thought I was nuts in the beginning. He thought I was nuts. And anyway, one day, a couple days later, I got his phone number and he told me, hey, I'm going to be going to the studio, but I don't have a ride. Would you be willing to take me? I said, I'll go get you. And I went with him. And it was at night. And we went to Paramount Studios on the corners. There was the entrance to the studio at that time was Melrose and Bronson. And there was a little restaurant there called the Playboy Cuisine. It wasn't the Playboy Club. It was an Italian restaurant. And so we went there and we were having a couple of drinks. And this guy, his favorite drink was Courvoisier. You know, he was an expensive, everybody was drinking brewskis, you know. And this guy was drinking Courvoisier. So we were there talking, and all of a sudden, all these people started coming into the restaurant dressed in tuxedos and women in these big gowns. It turns out that the High Chaparral was doing some night scenes because they were doing supposedly being in San Francisco at an opera. So I asked one of the extras, what's going on? And the extra told me, we're doing some night scenes for the High Chaparral. And so, you know, I had a couple of brewskis and I was kind of feeling my oats a little bit, you know. And I started thinking, man, I got to figure a way. They started to go back to the studio. And so I was over there talking to this one guy and I said, you mind if I walk with you? And my friend that took me, he goes, where are you going? I said, I'm going with them. He goes, you can't go to the studio. If you find out, I'll get in trouble. I said, no, you won't. I'll hide. And I followed him into the studio. And so I asked him, by the way, who's the director? And he said, oh, Chuck. I don't remember his last name, but his name was Chuck. So, and he said, I said, where's the wardrobe department? He goes, right around the corner. And I said, oh, okay, thanks. So I was watching where they went. I went to look to see where the director, and I had somebody point him out to me. So I came back. I went to the wardrobe department, and I said, excuse me. And he says, yeah, what can I do for you? Who are you? And I said, Chuck, the director, wants you to fix me up. He says, fix you up? What are you talking about, fix you up? He goes, he likes my look, and he wants to use me. And he says, where were you this morning when I fitted everybody for their costumes? I go, well, I wasn't here this morning, obviously. But he saw me and he told me to come and see you. And he said, this doesn't make sense. This has never happened before. And I said, look, you don't want to do it? No problem. I'm going to go talk to Chuck. You guys take care of it. He goes, settle down, calm down. You do have a good look, but that's never happened before. Well, come on over here. He said, what's your name? What's your name? Now, when he asked me my name, I got scared. I didn't want to give my name. And I said, and I looked around and there was a sign that said, sign up for your next bus trip to Reno. And I said, my name's Reno. He says, what's your last name? And there was another sign that said, sign up for your next bus trip to Reno and check for different styles of costumes. check with the wardrobe manager. So I said, I'm Reno Styles. And he says, okay, Reno, let's see what size are you? Let me measure you. So he put me in a tuxedo. And I went out there and I saw my friend Osvaldo who took me, and he was just scared to death. Oh, what did I do? Bring this guy. I didn't even know this guy. And I'm gonna get in trouble. And I'm out there waving to him. All of a sudden, this girl comes up to me, and she said, "Who are you?" I said, "Reno Styles." And she says, "Cut the BS." I won't say it on your show, but she said, "Cut the BS. Who are you?" I'm president of Screen Extras Guild, and I've never seen you before. And I said, "Well, welcome to the show. My name's Reno. Don't get started with me." And then all of a sudden, the director is looking at me, and he says, "You!" And that girl says, "He's talking to you, and I'm gonna find out who you are." And when I went like that to the director, and he goes, "Yes, you, come here." I go, "Oh man, here we go." So I go over there, and he says, "I like your look. I like your look." And I said, "Everybody, listen up." He was talking to the atmosphere, all the extras. He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Reno." And he said, "Reno, I'm going to use you as my lead-in to the opera house." And man, I'm scared, I'm nervous. And he says, "I got to get you a partner." And he says, "Elizabeth, come here." That same woman, the president of the Screen Extras Guild, he calls her over and he says, "Have you met Reno?" She goes, "Yes, we've met." And it goes a little farther than that, which I intend to find out. He goes, later, come on, just get this. I like the way you two look together. Listen, everybody, when Reno and Elizabeth, when they start walking towards the entrance to the opera house, I want atmosphere. Start talking, smoking, whatever you're doing. And I want a lot of noise, like you're in the streets going to the opera. So we do the scene. One take. Then all of a sudden, the director comes over to me. "Reno, come with me." So we go through the door of the opera house. It's a front. It's just that's all it is. And he says, "Who are you?" I said, "Reno Styles." He goes, "What the crap? What's your name?" He says, "And don't BS me." I said, "Isaac Ruiz." He says, "Isaac, what?" He said, "How did you get on the set?" And I told him what I did. And I thought he was going to he starts cracking up, laughing. And he says, "Are you going to get paid?" I don't care if I get paid. I just wanted to start up my career. He says, "You ain't nothing but a Mexican Mickey Rooney." He says, "Little guy." He said, "I'll tell you what. What's your social security number?" And I go, "Oh, man." I says, "You're going to get me arrested?" He goes, "No." He says, "In order for you to get paid, you want to get your career started, I'm going to do it." And anyway, that's how I broke into show business. And that's my story, and I'm sticking by it.
It's amazing. It's so good. So good.
That's a smooth name too, man.
Reno Styles.
It's Reno Styles at hotmail.com.
Good stuff. Yes.
Man. Awesome. Isaac. I'm sure you have so many good stories. Okay, cool. Real quick, Isaac, we're just going to take like probably a 2-minute break here, and we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors.
Yes.
And run some ads, and then we'll come back and actually talk about some sports. I want to talk about the Dodgers.
Anybody you want me to plug?
We actually, why don't we give you? How would you? You actually, why don't you plug Watering Seeds? Tell the world about Brady's
Oh,
organization.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, tell them about. Go ahead and plug it.
Just want to invite all of our listeners. Thank you for coming on to this wonderful show. And I wanted to just point out to you about Watering Seeds organization and my dear friend Brady Mazzola. If you're watching, Brady, I love you, bro.
Yep.
Watering Seeds does a lot for veterans and for people in need. People just like some of us, myself. At one time, I was in need, and look, organizations like Watering Seeds goes out of the way to help you, to look out for you, to do things that just don't happen all of a sudden. So please, if look up Watering Seeds, Google it, find out who they're about, what they do. Don't take my word for it. Find out for yourself.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier in the program, Watering Seeds, Brady has approached me about making the Bob Whelan documentary, and
Yes.
that process is rolling. Ian Fisher is currently going through all the archived footage as we speak. So not too long there, maybe hopefully we'll have a great documentary about your buddy Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to give a shout out real quick to Eric Zulli over at Easy Way Network. Eric helps us out a ton, getting people on the show and promoting sports and tacos. Let's see. There's this little wine company called GV23. Hey, Greg, you want to tell people about GV23?
Yeah, GV23 started. It's a winery in Lodi, California. It started when the pandemic hit. I didn't want to be that guy that got people sick, to try to raise money for, my foundation with golf tournaments and comedy shows. So I love wine. I was introduced to, the family, a fifth generation family in Lodi, Brett, and, his family took me in like one of their kids, and, he's one of the best winemakers out there. And, the Pinot won, best of show. He won a Century Award, and the contributions, it go back to the winery and to the foundation to help find a cure for diabetes. I started it because my oldest son Corey has type 1, and it's just my way of trying to give back and help get rid of this evil disease that takes a lot of lives, especially black and brown people. So
Yeah.
but juvenile diabetes, I mean, your pancreas stops working, you become insulin dependent, and we don't know why it happens. And I didn't even know. I was really ignorant when I first got the call. I was in Toronto, Canada, and I thought diabetes was just about for out of shape older people. You know what I mean? And then I didn't know they had a juvenile diabetes. So at age 11, Corey's life was changed forever, and that's how the wine came about.
Yeah.
23 Wines. You can get it. Go to 23wines.com. We can go. We'll have it we'll have it at your front doorstep.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Awesome, Greg. GV23 wine, award-winning wine. Check it out. We'll give a shout out to Smoke Lab Vodka. Our friend Dawn Church. This is her amazing vodka that she sells. Check it out. I've heard that it's amazing in espresso martinis. We don't have G Unit on tonight to give the pitch for it, but Smoke Lab Vodka. If you like vodka and espresso martinis, go ahead and buy some Smoke Lab Vodka because I hear that it's amazing. Also, I'll give a shout out to Bill Hammond over at Hammond Entertainment. Bill puts on the coolest celebrity golf tournaments in the entire world. Also, who else we got? Dan Wolkin of Pawn Stars fame. Dan's been on over 50 episodes of Pawn Stars. He is the guy that they call when somebody brings in a really high-end piece of sports memorabilia. Like if you got a Babe Ruth rookie card or a Mickey Mantle rookie card, Dan owns a big company called Memory Lane Incorporated down in Orange County. He's the one you want to take to have your Mickey Mantle rookie card authenticated, and probably he can sell it for you. Also, I want to give a shout out to Megan Johnson and Doug Plank with Sports and Shopping. Doug, I love having them on. Doug Plank, he played for the Chicago Bears. He was a free safety for the Chicago Bears for years. Love having Doug on the show and listening to his old school football stories from back in the 70s and 80s. Also, Ray Pinetto over at Pro Signatures Memorabilia. They have the coolest sports memorabilia in the entire world. And our buddy Paul Pratt, who we'll have back on the show soon. Paul's an ex-Detroit Lion, and he has a water company called Noah Water, which is super electrolyte injected, super hydrating water that is really good for you. So check out Noah Water. And like I said, we'll have Paul back on the show. It's kind of funny. Paul hasn't been on the show since Greg's 49ers knocked the Lions off in the NFC Championship game. I've texted him a few times. I think it's going to take a little while for Paul to want to come back on Sports and Tacos. But yeah, we'll run a couple of commercials real quick, and then we'll be back in about 1 minute, maybe a minute and a half. And I want to talk some Dodger baseball with Isaac while we got him on the show. So we'll be back in about a minute and a half, guys.
All right, this is Sports and Tacos. We got freaks out there. We got 4 of them. We got 5 of them. We got special guests. We got a man in the shower. We got a brainiac. We got a guy that looks like he's supposed to be on Sports Center. And then you got me. It's all about the TMP, Sports and Tacos.
Perfect. So who are the guys at Sports and Tacos? We're a bunch of sports experts who work together in a huge sports bar forever. And we know more sports than anybody in this entire world because we put our money where our mouth is.
Because we get paid to put our money where our mouth is. We tell you how it is for real, not what they want you to say. Listen to us, Sports and Tacos. Cool, perfect.
All righty then. So maybe I'm gonna run one more Tony commercial. Just we'll wait for Linda and Greg to get.
Why Sports and Tacos? Because we're number one. We try to do things a little different from everybody else, and that's who we are because we party like the big dogs.
Okay, sweet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen in TV land, YouTube, Sports and Tacos, Mondays, Thursdays, and Sunday Fun Day. Come join us, YouTube, Sports and Tacos.
So good. You're just a natural, Tony. You don't know it, but you're a natural. Doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
Tony, Tony, I mean, it runs in the family, right? Isn't your cousin like a big-time commercial actor in LA?
he did a lot of the big Budweiser for the Super Bowl. He was the genie.
Yeah. But
Yeah, he was the genie. Plus, he does the Jimmy John's with the guy that played in Everybody Loves Raymond. He was the cop, the older brother.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've been trying to drag you to acting class for years, but that's okay. You might not even need it.
Shy.
I know. Yes, I can tell. I can tell you're such a shy guy, especially out on the patio at the Platte. So shy. But anyways, while we got Isaac, I want to talk a little baseball, Isaac. So a lot has happened with the Dodgers this year. You got Shohei Ohtani. But like I was saying, here's my number one question about the Dodgers. I live in LA. I'm born and raised in Denver. I am not a Dodgers fan. Okay, you got to understand. I'm from the I'm going to reject that whistle just until I make my point, Miss Linda. Oh, and Greg, just so you know, this is Linda S. Vaughn. She's an amazing actress, friend of mine, and actually my roommate. She's on the other wall right at the moment.
I'm in the basement. Somebody save me.
Gotta get Spencer and his posters.
Okay, here's my number one wacky statement about the Dodgers. Okay, tell me I'm wrong, guys. Is it not time for Clayton Kershaw to become a closer?
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. I think it would be a perfect job for Clayton. We need a closer.
Yeah.
We haven't had a closer. Actually, I thought that Trinan was going to become one of the closers. You know, I like Trinan, but it makes sense. What's the guy from Oakland that did it that we spoke about?
Dennis Eckersley.
Well,
But John Smoltz did also with the Braves.
Eckersley was a great pitcher, but became even a better closer.
Yeah.
Dennis Eckersley.
What are your thoughts on that, Greg?
It all depends how your body responds. I mean, it's getting ready every day or pitching 4 days in a row. I mean, it's so different than, every 5 days, like a traditional rotation.
Right.
I think if it's that easy, you see a lot more guys go to that, at different points in their career. I think it might be easier for him to crank it up once every 5 days than try to stay ready all the time. But, that's just my opinion.
That's a good point.
Tony, am I crazy? I mean, it just seems like every year the guy runs out of gas.
Hey, just want to get something out of him.
Hey, granted, all his fame's been nothing but LA this, LA that, LA this. He's been the star for how many years? And I agree with what Greg said. The body, everything. But Isaac, I agree with you, buddy. Throw him in that. He can make an All-Pro. Being that, there's going to be a record in there, like what he was saying about John Smoltz.
Yep, Smoltzy, baby.
And then they want to ring with that. You know what? They might need that love.
No, not he was a starter when we won the ring.
Oh, he was a starter when the ring.
He was a starter when they won the ring in '95. Yes,
but he's still a great.
But he got 200 saves. I mean, yeah,
he's a good pitcher, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry. He's earned enough, respect for him to go out the way he wants to go out. You know what I mean? He's been there that long, so I think the Dodgers are going to leave it up to him to.
I get that.
Even if they want him to retire, they're not going to ask him to retire. You know what I mean? They're going to wait till he's ready to go out on his own terms.
But one of the things, Clayton has always said he's a team player, and he is. You ain't going to get a better team player than Clayton Kershaw. And I think that if they go to him and they say, we would like you to become our closer, at first it might hit him kind of, who knows? But I think he'll do it.
What do you think,
I think that would be a hell of a closer.
Eckersley did it. Schmaltz did it. How many more? Name me a couple more.
I don't know too many more. It's just, hey, Linda, do you know what the closer is? Do you know what we're talking about by chance?
No, but in bartending, I do end up doing everything. Does a closer do everything?
Closer finishes up the night, basically. Yes.
Okay. So after everybody's drunk, your job is just to give the last round and get everybody out. So the closer in baseball is kind of the same, a little bit.
It's the same thing, yeah.
So what a closer does in baseball, Linda, is you have a 9-inning baseball game. Say the Dodgers are winning 5-3, and it's the end of the 8th inning. You want to bring in your closer, and that guy all he has to do is come in, have a live arm, because whoever's been pitching before him, their arm is usually starting to get kind of tired. Okay. And as your arm gets tired, you're at a much greater risk of the other team hitting the ball and getting runs off of you because you're not throwing as hard as you were. So you bring in a guy who's called the closer just to get 3 outs. It's like almost usually a guarantee. If you have a good closer and you're winning the game in the 8th inning, you're going to win the game. Okay. So Clayton Kershaw is a superstar starting pitcher, multiple Cy Youngs. Like he's been basically the Dodgers ace for the last like 16 years. But the last few seasons, towards the end of the season and into the playoffs, he starts to run out of gas, and he hasn't been pitching that well in the playoffs. So what my theory is and they just what is it, Yamamoto? They just signed that. Is it Yamamoto? They just signed another badass pitcher along with Shohei when they get Shohei next year. So anyways, they've kind of signed some other badass pitchers. Plus they have some rookies. God, I can't believe I'm talking about the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers, but I live in LA, So like it's all I ever hear about. And I hate to say it, Tony, like what do the Rockies have to root for? The first round pick in the draft next year? Matt Holliday's kid?
The Rockies wait for the Dodgers to come to town so we can watch somebody go play.
Sorry. It's just like I'm from Denver and like LA teams, the Raiders, the Dodgers, like we hate them, just so you know. But
I'm not really a fair referee because I have to.
Oh, there she goes.
I used to work at Dodger Stadium. Like I had to join the union.
One of the things that I used to really bothered me a lot was when you're a closer, they gotta let you be a closer. Don't bring you in because they need you. You guys are behind, and you need to. A closer is a closer. You don't bring him in, but to close. You gotta stick to that. And
a starter is a starter.
A starter's a starter, a closer. A lot of the analytics came into play, and I didn't like some of the things Roberts was doing in that regard. I really didn't, because he was bringing in our former closer that I can't think of his
Jensen.
Yes, Jensen. And he would bring Jensen in when the score, not as a closer, but to help out. And you can't do that. Jensen would lose it because he's ready to close. Yeah. He wants to come in with a closing attitude. Yeah. And they get up there, they're fired up, just like Vesia. Remember when Vesia used to come in there and really be ready and strike out the side, and after a while, he used them in different. You cannot use them if you're going to use them in the 8th inning. Bring him in the 8th. Don't bring him in the 4th inning or the 6th inning. Let them have a role, and that's their role. That's
so.
Dave Roberts, though. Dave Roberts, he's a good dude, but I think analytics run baseball. So they're basically calling the shots and telling him what to do. But you see, that's why they implemented that rule, because at least you have to face 3 batters. You can't throw one pitch and you use all your pitchers. So I think, in fairness to Dave, it's the times. It's different times that we're in. So a lot of these managers, if you look, there's not a lot of former players that are managers or even on coaching staffs, because they don't want those guys around that can call them out or I shouldn't say call them out. I take that back. Comment on it. You know what I mean?
Can I ask?
Yes.
Can I ask Greg a question?
Go ahead.
Greg, did you know James Mouton?
James Mouton, I grew up together.
Oh, well, James will remember me without a doubt when I was with the Tucson Toros. I was a general manager of a Spanish broadcasting station. I brought the Toros. I was the one that signed the contract for them for our radio station to broadcast their games. And I was talking to all Orlando Miller. Remember Orlando Miller?
Yeah.
In 91, it was Kenny Lofton on our team. Kenny Lofton, Phil Nevin, Brent Strom, Orlando Miller, James Mouton, Jim Lindemann, Jeff Juden, all those guys. I mean, and the owner was Rick Holtzman, owned the Toros, and the manager at that time in 91 was Bob Skinner, formerly of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then Rick Sweet was the manager in 93 when they won the AAA championship. And I helped them so much with the Spanish ball players. Wow. I got a championship ring.
They gave you a ring?
I got a ring with my name on it. The AAA championship ring.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That is. So okay, back to just Clayton Kershaw. So Clayton Kershaw is a starting star pitcher, Linda. So
yes,
and he hasn't been playing good at the end of seasons. So my idea is to make him the closer. So because the closer only pitches what, maybe 60 innings a year. You know, that's probably something like
a little bit more.
Maybe 60 or 70 innings instead of like 250 innings.
75 innings.
Not a lot, but a little bit more. Yeah.
So that when playoff time comes around, okay, and tell me I'm crazy. So say the playoffs come around. In the playoffs with pitching, you just do what it takes, basically. You know, there's no rule that says Clayton Kershaw couldn't start a game in the playoffs. I'm just saying, if you make him a closer, you have, I don't know, that was the number one thing I wanted to talk about. So I say you do it. Tony, what would you say? Do it. Bama, what do you say?
Well, I mean, we've seen it before. I mean, we've seen Game 7s in our closeout situations in the World Series to where the best starting pitcher is warming up in the 8th and 9th inning.
Yes,
the last
were doing it just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I think it's great, man. I mean, honestly, especially when Kershaw's kind of getting a little beat up here and there. They've got a lot of young pitchers coming up, like you're talking about with Bueller and Yamamoto. When Ohtani gets pitching, those guys.
Yeah.
Why not, dude? You got like Smoltz, you've got a live arm for you just give me 3 outs. Throw your butt off for 3 outs, and I would not want to face Clayton Kershaw for 3 outs.
Hell no. A completely fresh Clayton Kershaw coming in the 9th inning?
Oh, you ain't got to rush yourself. It's 9. Just throw the ball.
Clayton's mindset, his mindset for 3 outs would be tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Greg, you don't have to give like a full opinion on it, but I don't know, unless you want to, what would you say?
I would say.
Okay, pretend you're Dave Roberts. Okay, and you go put it this way. If Dave Roberts probably doesn't win the World Series this year, I don't know if he's the manager next year with that team.
Still, but you don't understand how much pull those guys are telling him what to do. Those, all those phones and stuff that are down there and messages, and before the game, they're down there for a reason. You know what I mean? It's not just for him to call the bullpen. But, like I said, he's earned the right to do that. I mean, he's a great baseball player. Now he's a great baseball coach. He's earned the right to know what he's doing with his team. You know what I mean?
Right,
I don't even know who the closer for the Dodgers
is. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, Clayton Kershaw for sure.
First ballot. Yes.
I'm talking about Dave Roberts.
Right there.
Dave Roberts will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I believe that.
Dave Roberts will be?
Yes.
Based on then you got to remember, I am from Denver. Based on what? The COVID World Series?
No. Yeah.
What?
Even he wasn't the greatest of all players. He had some great moments, but he will as a coach.
Because of the COVID World Series?
No. He will.
He's won a lot more games.
That's his only World Series ring, right?
It is. Yes.
A 60-game season. Again, remember, I'm biased. I'm from Denver. So I'm just saying, this guy, they put out the West Coast version of the Yankees every season. And last year, the way they failed in the playoffs And again, maybe not. Maybe he's so loved that they'll just, keep letting him go and letting him go.
But who was? I didn't even know half the guys that were on the field for the Dodgers when they were in the playoffs. I never seen them before in my life. They had so many injuries. People were hurt. You know what I mean? I think all of it is a factor. You know what I mean? I think
true. No, that's very true.
Over a course, even a game, people don't understand the stuff that happens in the first, the second inning play a factor in who wins the game or not. Not turning double play or not getting a guy over to score on a ground ball. That comes back to haunt you later in the game.
It just seems like they're, and honestly, it seems like their bats just go dead every season in the playoffs. They have murderers row who cannot all of a sudden hit in the playoffs.
How come that's Dave Roberts' fault? How come get rid of the player, not Dave Roberts? Whose fault is that?
No, I mean, I get, but here's my one thing. 2 years ago when they got beat by was that 2 years ago when they got beat by the Braves? Maybe that's 3 years ago now. When he brought in Julio Urias as a middle reliever, then he started that next, I think it was the next game. I did not understand that move. And I think it was one of the reasons why they ended up losing to the Braves that year. And the Braves went on to win the World Series. I get it. I get it. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah,
I did not understand what he was thinking, bringing Julio Urias in as a middle reliever, and then I think he started the next game on 2 days rest.
But it's probably it was probably his day to throw in the pen, and they didn't use them. They said we're not going to have you throw your bullpen in case we need you during the game. It happens a lot. It happens a lot. So either he threw it in the bullpen or he threw it for the Dodgers. He still was going to throw that same amount of pitches, and the stress load might have been different, but it happens all the time. If you go back over the history of the Dodgers, for as young as he is, he's been one of their best pitchers ever. So, why not use him as, he was young. He was the only thing that I think he was solid every time he went out there.
He was having a phenomenal season. I think that one decision might have cost them the NLCS that year.
No, Greg's right. They get a bull. Every pitcher pitches pretty much every day, even if not your pitch. You got your bullpen station. So if you use it in a bullpen with nobody facing, or you go on the mound and do it like Greg says, a little more pressure situation, you're still going to throw the ball that many pitches that day. So I got no problem with Dave Roberts doing that.
TMP.
I happen to agree with Greg. I agree with Greg that there's interference coming from Friedman and the front office.
I didn't call anybody's names. I'm just saying. All of baseball, the analytics, it's a different game now.
All right, Tony, is Dave Roberts a Hall of Famer?
Like a video baseball game when you're playing on your Sega or your Nintendo. You got guys that, threw 60 pitches, you burn yourself out, and you got to play in a couple games. I get it. It's different. It's in the video games, you do it just to do it, but it's different.
Yeah. So what is Dave Roberts a Hall of Fame coach to you, Tony?
Hey, give it to him, man. Look how many games he's won over 100 games. Look how many games he's won per season where, the Rockies did catch a record. We did get 100 losses.
I'm aware.
But if he wins one more World Series or two more, that's three. That's automatic.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. That's where I want to wrap it up this evening. Okay, because now this year the Dodgers got Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Shohei. They have,
and when they don't win this year,
a pitching staff. They have literally no excuses to not win a World Series this season. Okay, so Isaac, okay? Here's my question. When you got Mookie, you got Freddie Freeman, and you now have Shohei effing Ohtani in the same lineup. Is that the greatest murderers row lineup of all time?
No.
Name one. Okay.
Name last year was Acuna Jr. battles.
Name one Scary.
Austin Riley, those guys, yeah. I'd take stat-wise, I'd take Atlanta Braves lineup over any of those lineups, even the Bronx Bombers back in the day.
And yeah, the Bronx Bombers, but I mean, y'all had the Bash brothers with Ricky and Canseco and all those guys. I mean, that thing went like 9 deep. And I'll tell you another thing. Cleveland, when I was playing against Jim Thome, he was hitting 9th. With Roberto Alomar, Carlos Baerga, no, that's not. No. I mean,
it's not the greatest.
I'm talking 1 to 9. No.
Right. But I mean,
anybody can have 3 good players, Spencer, but you got to have, like, say, top to bottom right there is what wins you a title.
And look at the you guys didn't bring them up.
Who?
Yes, he did.
Nobody cares about the Bronx Bombers. No, they're old news right now. Yeah. They can't stay healthy. Nowadays, Bronx Bombers with Stanton, Judge, and those guys, yeah, they don't stay healthy enough.
Look at Seattle with Vizquel, Jr., Martinez, Jay Buhner, Tino.
I mean, I'd put the Braves 3+ years talking about up against DiMaggio, Mantle, and those guys. Ruth, those guys, man. Because stat-wise, the guys nowadays a little bit better.
And I tell you what, I take you guys' crew in Denver when you guys the inaugural season with Vinny, Dante, and I mean EY and all that. I mean,
Lake Street,
big cat. Hey, dude, that was ooh.
Obashet.
Galarraga, yes, the big cat.
Dante,
yes.
That was Dante, the Dante era. Yeah, so
Spurts, Larry Walker. We had a good team.
Dude, that's what we say Murderers Row all time. Not even close.
Atlanta's lineup matched better top to bottom than the Dodgers did last year, and I feel like they do it this year as well, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, Linda, do you know kind of all right, what we're talking about now is the hitters. Just so you know, Linda, we're talking about the hitters. Okay, so not only do the Dodgers they're like the West Coast version of, in my opinion, the Yankees. Here's another problem, and this, I don't want to go too deep into this, but baseball needs a freaking salary cap.
They have one.
And not really, do they?
They have a luxury tax.
They don't have a salary cap, though. And this is my problem with it. If you've ever played fantasy football, an auction-style draft of fantasy football, it's like sitting down with a bunch of regular dudes, Joe Sixpacks, and you're having an auction for all the best players, and one guy in the league is like a billionaire. He is able to just buy all the best players, and it's not really that fun for everybody else in the league. You understand? It's kind of what you're getting these days, where essentially the Colorado Rockies are like a AAA. They're a quadruple A team at this point. I think it's bad for the sport, personally. That's just my take on that. But okay.
You want to elaborate on that though?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I'll elaborate just on that. That part is, you think about it. If someone, I'm just throwing out numbers. Someone paid $1 million for their franchise, right? Mm-hmm. And someone else paid $10 million for their franchise. And why does he get to tell me how much I get to spend or not spend, right? And we have revenue sharing. But why should I give you money that I make because my market's bigger? Which I agree with revenue sharing, but it should have to go back into your team, not in your bank account. You should have to go back on the field. If I have to share money with you, because my area, is my region is more powerful. LA, New York, San Francisco. Atlanta was, it's. Long as those guys put the money back in the system, it's good. But if I have to take,
if they just put it in their pocket,
that's horrible. Revenue sharing was designed to bring the other guys up to speed, and
I guarantee that the Monforts are putting it. You know what the Monforts are doing? They're just making cooler bars at Coors Field because they know how to make money, and it's not by putting a winning team on the field. It's just by having a really cool stadium in a really cool part of downtown. They don't give a crap about whether the Rockies are good or not, but that's just me. So
is it not that way for all sports?
No, hockey has a hard salary cap. Every team basically has just as much chance to win the Stanley Cup every season as every other freaking team.
Spencer, how many times has the highest team share won the World Series lately? Not very often. I want to maybe go back to the Dodgers in 2019, the COVID year, 2020, maybe be the last one that did it, because I know damn well last year, Texas wasn't the highest paid, wasn't the highest salary team. Year before that, the Astros were close, but they weren't the highest.
My
Braves
point
weren't
is
the
this: here,
Texas was
the-
close.
the
Texas-
Yeah, I
long,
mean, they're
no, they were close. They went on a buy. They bought
But-
that title. They bought
the
that
The
title.
best team in baseball over the last like 10 years, the Tampa Bay Rays, the lowest paid, lowest market team out there, and they still
Yep.
kick ass.
What I'm kind of getting at, I guess, long term is, I guess there is revenue sharing, so none of these teams are going to go away. But I guarantee
$1,000 luxury tax too.
I guarantee they would go away if that wasn't the case. You know, you wouldn't have like these small market teams like would just go away if that wasn't the case. You
They're
know,
still
the
making money.
Rockies-
No one's
Yeah.
losing money.
That's because they're sharing. Yeah, that's true, but that's because they're sharing. You know, it just I don't know. It's just
What's the TV contract, Spencer? It's your guys' fault. It's all the TV people. The TV contract. The TV
That's
people
true.
paid a bit. They paid $5-6 billion a year to get, to have baseball. Or I mean, look at it. We had to stream playoff games this year. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
that was ridiculous. It is, and it's now starting to kind of get ridiculous. But I just, I like to root for the underdogs. I like to root for the little guys. And when you see the Dodgers spending $1 billion in the offseason, it's like, oh man. Geez. I mean, of course they're going to win 100, and of course they're going to win 110 games. But that's why I bring it up. It's like, elite.
The Mets were the highest paid last year, and they finished 4th place in that division.
Yeah, San Diego. Look at San Diego. Look at the Red Sox.
Not always work out like that, Spencer. Yes.
So, anyways, I think we could probably wrap it up with that. Isaac,
Yes.
do you think the Dodgers get over the hump this season and win a World Series?
I'm not going to lie. I've got to tell you what I really feel, and that is they gotta show me. I'm from Missouri right now. They're gonna have to show me. There's too many things can happen. It's like you never know. I agree with Bama. You don't know what's gonna happen. Look what happened with the Padres after they knocked the Dodgers out. It didn't take long for them to get busted out either. It just
Hey, easy on those Padres. Easy on those Padres over there.
I remember the big home run hitter for the Padres. Dave Kingman, remember?
Dave Kingman. He would either strike out or hit a home run.
Yeah.
But he went to ASU, I think, didn't he? Dave Kingman?
I'm not
ASU?
sure. I'm not sure.
He was a beast back in the 70s.
He was a beast. But to answer your question, I'm hoping naturally, but I really don't have that. I'm not going to go out and say something that I really don't feel.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, but what I want to see is the consistency in the hitting that they hadn't had. They can win 15 games in a row, and all of a sudden they come out and get 2 or 3 hits. That was just they're going to have to be consistent. I would rather see them be consistent on a daily basis rather than go on and be streaky.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right, thank you guys. I have to get on a plane to San Diego for my shoulder to get checked out. So.
Oh, awesome! Thanks for stopping on, Greg.
All right, see you guys. All right, see
See
you
you,
guys.
Greg.
Okay, Isaac, Linda, thank you so much. Sorry you didn't get to blow the whistle more.
I know you guys are well behaved. I think it's
We were
just
very behaved tonight. We were very well behaved.
I'm scary.
It's
I don't even have
it's
to
not
blow
that.
the whistle.
Isaac stole the show.
No.
So
Yes, he did.
Isaac, we'd love to have you back on anytime you want to come on.
I'm honored
Yeah.
to come back. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes. Thank you for coming on, Isaac. Heck yes.
And like I said, Isaac, you're so great on the show. We didn't even have any super major arguments to where the ref needed to blow the whistle that much. So
Isaac, you got to come back, brother, because guess what happens next month? We got baseball.
Yes, right, brother. I'll be glad to come back, and I appreciate the offer. Thank you.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome, guys.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my picture out of all the post offices so I could be here tonight. Okay.
We found you.
Okay, guys. Everybody have a good evening. Great show. And we'll be back next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.